different types of solutions, mainly basing on the solvent in a liquid state. So we have to consider the liquid solution. In case of liquid solution, we are interested only for the liquid and gas as well as liquid with a solid. So first let's say solid liquid solution. Solid liquid solution. Again another class we have to consider, that is gas liquid solution. These two is in the interest of this solution subject, and here when we are considering the solid liquid solution where the solvent is the liquid, maybe water or any other liquid, as well as solute is the soluble salt or a solid which is soluble in water. The solubility of a solid, we know, depends on the nature. The solution consists of one liquid as water and another solid, that may be ionic solid or soluble solid. The solubility of a solid is nothing but the minimum grams of solute that can give a saturated solution with 100 gram solvent. So that is another part of calculation. Rather, we have to consider the nature of the solid solution. Solid as solute, as well as solvent as liquid. The solution. This solution nature depends on the interionic force between the solute particles, means the solute will be mostly ionic solid. We know ionic solid are generally soluble in water, and let's say this is the ionic solid, and it is, let's say, water. So when we are considering the solution between the two, then we have to consider the solvent-solvent interaction as well as the ion-ion interaction. Here is solvent. A means the interaction between the solvent molecules. Again, another is the interionic force between the solute particles, consists of positive ion as well as negative ion. Where we are considering the solubility, we have to find out the nature of interaction between the liquid molecule as well as solid particles. In case of liquid, there must be some dipole movement, where if we consider, let's say, water molecule, let us consider water molecule, and water we know is a polar solvent because of opposite dipole present in the two parts, and because of the opposite dipole it is a polar molecule, and because of the polar molecule it has two dipoles which can be represented like this, plus, let's say, minus. This is water molecule, and in between the ionic solid, let's say, positive and negative ions are aggregated together to give positive, negative are there. So this plus, minus, or positive ion, negative ion in the ionic solid. When this solid is dropped into the water, then there is some type of interaction between them. Here we know between the positive and negative ion, the force exists, which is called lattice force. So in order to overcome this lattice force, the energy required is called lattice energy. The minimum amount of energy required to separate the positive and negative ion from one form of ionic solid is called lattice energy. When this lattice energy is too high, then it is difficult to dissolve in a particular solvent like water. Again, the lattice energy is very low, then the water dipole can attract the negative dipole or positive dipole of ionic solid into individual one. Let's say the aggregation of water molecule there between the positive and negative ion, let's say plus minus. Here the positive dipole of water can attract the negative ion from the solid, and the positive dipole of negative dipole of water can attract the positive dipole of the ion from the ionic solid. And in this case, the negative ion gets surrounded by the water molecule, as well as the positive ions are get surrounded by water molecule, where the ionic solids get separated into their solution state. Here, the force of attraction that exists between the positive and negative are now dislodged or broken down by the dipole moment of water molecule. And here, the amount of energy which is evolved during the dissolution of 1 mole of solid in water is called its hydration energy. Hydration energy. And here is another concept. There was lattice energy between the ion, positive and negative ion, and the water molecule has tendency to separate the positive and negative ion by the help of the energy called hydration energy. If the hydration energy is greater than lattice energy, then the salt or the solid is said to be soluble in water. And this is the concept to decide whether this will be soluble or not, or less soluble or not. And again, the solubility of the solid in the liquid or the water depends on another concept that is called temperature. Temperature also has some effect on the solubility of solute in water. So let us consider when this type of phenomenon occurs. Here the solution, here the delage of the solution may be positive, may be greater than 0, or delage of the solution may be less than 0. Two types of cases may arise. The heat change or the enthalpy change during the solution, if greater than 0, then that is called endothermic reaction or endothermic process. Because of during the dissolution process, if the temperature is increased, temperature becomes high, then solubility will increase. Again, in case of exothermic process of a dissolution, when temperature is low, then the solubility becomes high. So temperature also affect the solubility of a solid in a particular solution or solvent. Now let us consider the solubility of a gas in liquid. Gas in liquid solution. We know a number of gases. The gases which have easy liquefaction, which is the property of liquefaction, means can be liquefied easily, can dissolve the solvent like water more easily than compared to other. Let's say the carbon dioxide can easily dissolve in water compared to oxygen or hydrogen in water. In water, oxygen and hydrogen cannot dissolve easily because they cannot liquefy easily as compared to the carbon dioxide. So the gas which has easy liquefaction can dissolve in water, forming a gaseous forming solution in water by this gas. Again, this dissolution depends on the nature of the gas, number one, which has a better tendency to liquefy easily. can dissolve more, and which has less tendency or no tendency to liquefy cannot dissolve in water, or if dissolved then to a lesser extent. We know oxygen has some tendency to dissolve in water for which the aquatic life are possible. Now, this dissolution process again depends on the temperature. If temperature becomes high, if temperature will increase in this process, then the dissolved gas can escape out from the bubbled out from the solution, and the solubility again decreases. So the temperature has effect on the solubility of a gas in water. If the temperature becomes low, then solubility may be high. If temperature will increase, then the dissolved gas will be poured out from the solution and the solubility decreases. Now, let us consider the effect of pressure on the solution due to the dissolution of a gas. It is observed that by applying pressure, the dissolved gas amount becomes more and more in the water. You know, generally in case of cookies or in soda water, we know that carbon dioxide is dissolved with high pressure. When the nozzle is open, then it rushes up immediately, as you are in Coca-Cola bottle or in Thums Up bottle, etc. So now the pressure has vital effect for the dissolution of gas in water. So let us consider the effect of pressure, which is given by Henry, and it is known as Henry's law. Henry's law, which states that the amount of gas dissolved in water is directly proportional to applied pressure. Is directly proportional to applied pressure. Where X is the minimum milligrams of gas per unit volume, dissolved per unit volume of the solution. P is the pressure. When pressure becomes high, the dissolved gas amount becomes more and more. So now this can be related as a given by the constant called Henry's constant. X is equal to kh into P. And this Henry's law valid only at a not very high temperature, not very high pressure, and it is applicable. Gas should dissolve to some extent without pressure again. So this Henry law is the mathematical X is equal to X kh into P is the mathematical form of the Henry's law. It is also practically verified by plotting a graph between the pressure and the extent of gas dissolved, where pressure increase, the extent of gas of the X dissolved gas will increase exponentially. This is the graph to show the dissolution of gas by applying pressure and this one. Now, let us discuss the solution and its behavior. To summarize this, we have to go through the nature of the solvent first. Its vapor pressure term is the important to decide the nature of the solution in some respect. Let us consider the vapor pressure of a liquid. You know, when a liquid is kept in a closed vessel, let's say liquid is kept in a closed vessel, then we have to found that some liquid molecule removed out from the surface as vapor, because liquid has a tendency, liquid has a property of evaporation. This is the process. Why the liquid molecule get evaporated? When the liquid molecules are there in the liquid state, the intermolecular collision leads to increase the kinetic energy of some molecule which cannot held by the intermolecular force of attraction by other molecules and will leave the surface as vapor, and the process is called evaporation. And during the process of evaporation, when we are keeping in the closed vessel, the vapor of the liquid collide on the wall of the container, and again it get kinetic energy again becomes very less, and because of a decreasing kinetic energy, it get condensed to liquid droplets and it will come into the again to liquid state. So during this process, evaporation takes place. If in the closed vessel, then condensation also takes place. Evaporation and condensation will takes place at a same rate, at a similar rate or constant rate. Rate of evaporation will equal to the rate of condensation. Then that state is called equilibrium state. Liquid and vapor are in equilibrium, and in this equilibrium state, the pressure of the vapor of a liquid exerted on the wall of the vessel is called its vapor pressure. Vapor pressure. The pressure exerted by the vapors of the liquid molecules at the state of equilibrium is called vapor pressure. Now let us consider the factors affecting vapor pressure. So we can easily say the nature of the liquid. When the liquid molecules, the force of attraction between the liquid molecules, liquid molecule, let's say, if the force of attraction between the liquid molecule is very less, then these molecules have high tendency to escape out from the surface as vapor, and the vapor pressure becomes more. So first, we can say nature of the liquid with respect to the intermolecular force of attraction. Nature of the liquid. That is low intermolecular force of attraction. Intermolecular force of attraction imply higher is the vapor pressure. Higher vapor pressure. If intermolecular force is very high, then it is lesser vapor pressure. So we can say the liquid having very low intermolecular force of attraction are said to be volatile liquid and can evaporate easily. This is the factor, nature of the liquid. Then second one is the temperature. You know, the temperature is again increases the kinetic energy of the molecules of the liquid and can easily escape out from the surface, and the vapor pressure becomes more. So higher the temperature, higher is the vapor pressure. And that has some relationship with the temperature and vapor pressure. That is log V2 by V1 is equal to del H vat by 2.33 R into 1 by T1 minus 1 by T2, you know that one. Again, the surface area also plays a vital role to decide surface area. Again, another factor which decides the evaporation. You know, when the surface area becomes more, then when the surface area becomes more, then more vapor molecule has a tendency to be moved out from the surface into the vapor state, and evaporation takes place easily, giving rise to higher vapor pressure. These are the factors affecting the vapor pressure of a liquid. Now, let us consider the vapor pressure given by the solution. Let's consider the vapor pressure of the solution. When we are considering the solution, we have to consider the ideal solution. What are the ideal solution? It means the force of interaction between AA means solute and solvent are equal. Also, the interaction between the solvent and solute are also equal. So, in case of vapor pressure of solution containing two liquids, let's say, two liquids. When there are two liquids, one is having maximum percentage called solvent, another having minimum percentage called solute, and B, two are liquid. when these two liquid are mixed together, then what will the effect on the vapor pressure of the solution? So let's say, consider the individual one. Let's say individually the A is here and the B is here, only pure state. In this pure state, the vapor pressure of A, let's say here, is called P0A, and here B is called, let's say, P0B. At a particular temperature, when these two are mixed together, then the vapor pressure of these two from this surface will be removed out, and in this case, simply for ideal solution, we can apply the Dalton's law. Means the partial vapor pressure of A and the partial vapor pressure of B will be taken into account to decide the total vapor pressure of the solution. And here we can say the total vapor pressure of the solution is equal to partial vapor pressure of A, partial vapor pressure of A in the solution state, plus partial vapor pressure of B in this solution state. This is the pure state and these are in the solution state. So what will be then the vapor pressure of each component in their solution state? And it is found that the vapor pressure of each component in their solution state is directly proportional to their mole fractions. Directly proportional to their mole fractions. According to Raoult's law, we know. So PSA proportional to XA. Similarly, PSB proportional to XB. So now here we can say PSA is equal to XA means PSA is equal to constant P0A XA. Again PSB is equal to constant, that is the pure state vapor pressure B and XB. So the total vapor pressure of the solution containing two liquids, two volatile liquids, here will be PS is equal to P0A XA plus P0B XB. Likewise, we can calculate vapor pressure of a solution containing two liquid in their mixed state. 2 or 3 or any more we can add up. Here we get the vapor pressure containing two liquids. If we consider the vapor pressure of solution containing a non-volatile solid, then what will happen in that case? In this case, the vapor pressure of the solution containing non-volatile solid can be known by the help of Raoult's law. Here, let us consider the Raoult's law. Here it is found that when there is a solute in the solvent A, and here if this is the pure solvent and this is the solution. Here containing A with it, let's say solute is B, some moles of B is there, then the vapor pressure of A will know more than that of the vapor pressure of B, because the surface area of the pure solvent is very high of the solvent molecules, and here the surface area containing some solute B from which the vapor cannot be removed. From this vapor will not be removed. Only from the solvent vapor will come. So the vapor pressure of the solution, here the vapor pressure of the solvent only, here the vapor pressure of the solution. So the vapor pressure of the solution is always less than that of the vapor pressure of the pure solvent, because the surface area occupied by the volatile liquid solvent becomes less, because some solute already occupied that surface area. So the vapor pressure of the solution containing non-volatile solute it is directly proportional to mole fraction of the solvent. Only the number of moles. Here mole fraction of solvent is 1, but here it is less than 1 because 2 are added. So Ps is equal to Xa. This is the Raoult's law. It states that the vapor pressure of a solution containing non-volatile solute is directly proportional to mole fraction of the solvent. And in this regard, we can summarize this one into another form, that is, when Ps is equal to, let's say, P0A Xa. P0A Xa. Again, we know that Xa plus Xb is equal to 1, so Xa is equal to 1 minus Xb. So here, where we have to consider Ps, let's say Ps by P0A is equal to Xa. Let's say 1 minus Ps by P0A is equal to Xa. This will be 1 P0A minus Ps by P0A is equal to 1 minus X. So here 1 Ps by P0A is equal to Xa. 1 minus Ps by P0A is equal to 1 minus Xa. So we can write P0A minus Ps by P0 is equal to 1 minus Xa. 1 minus Xa is equal to Xb here. We can write similar manner, Xb is equal to 1 minus Xa. So here it will be the Xb. Xb is the mole fraction of the solute. Mole fraction of the solute. Here P0A minus Ps means lowering in vapor pressure with respect to the original vapor pressure in pure state. This is known as relative lowering in vapor pressure. This is called relative lowering in vapor pressure, which is equal to mole fraction of the solute. This is for the solute. Xa is the solvent, Xb is the mole fraction of the solute. So now we can summarize this Raoult's law where the relative lowering in vapor pressure of a solution containing non-volatile solute is equal to mole fraction of the solute. Mole fraction of the solute. This is the vapor pressure solution containing non-volatile solute. So this law, Raoult's law, or you can say Dalton's law for two volatile liquids in the solution, are only applicable in case of ideal solution. So in next class we will discuss what is ideal solution and what is the non-ideal solution, what are their criteria and what are the conditions, which type of ideal and non-ideal solutions are there. Thank you all.